Hi everyone, my name's Laura and you're watching my channel So Very Laura. Welcome if you're new here and welcome back if you're an existing subscriber. And I'd just like to say hello on the note of subscribers to the little flurry of new subscribers I've had since I went to Sewing for Pleasure at the NEC last week. So maybe some of you joined because you met me or because one of the other YouTubers mentioned me on their roundups of the show. So I think Sam Sequin Girly mentioned me and Michelle Menopausal Sewer did, and so did Jess, who is So What If I Sew. She gave me a really lovely shout out. So I'll link their channels down below. But today I am doing my choices for the challenge that's being run over on Instagram by Ruan, who's the Yorkshire Sew Girl, and Sam, who is Frugalissima, and that's So Frugal 24. So by my reckoning, you've had at least 41, 42 vlogs so far. So I'm not going to spend ages going through the rules, but essentially you need to make a garment from your existing stash and using a pattern that's free to everybody. Post a picky of it on Instagram on 31st of March, and that will put you in the draw for the lovely prizes, making sure that you tag Ruan and Sam's channels and also the hashtag SoFrugal24. But I'll pop all that in the description below, and I'll also pop some visuals up as I'm speaking of some of the lovely prizes that you could win. So this year I was kind of thinking, shall I have a theme? And I thought about doing jackets, and I thought about doing transitional pieces, and then I thought, you know what, my theme is going to be, let's pick some fabrics from my stash, which I really have had for ages and want to get sewn up, or remnant pieces. There's one exception to that, which I'll come to. And let's find some fabrics that, some patterns rather, that I can use with those fabrics, so that I'm using things that really have been sitting there for a while. So let's get straight into it. I've picked 5 patterns, as I say. I had to put my glasses on for this bit because I can't see my notes. So apologies if I'm looking down, but otherwise I might forget what I'm going to say, and that wouldn't be great. Right. So my first one is the LGO Tank, which is a free pattern from Itch to Stitch. So I'll pop a pic in here and you'll see it's just a straightforward sleeveless, I suppose in the UK we might call them vest tops or camisole tops. So yeah, it's a free pattern. It goes from sizes 00, which is a bust of 31 1/8 inches, up to 46 1/4 inches. So like quite a lot of the free patterns, it's not unfortunately all that size inclusive, and this one has definitely been out a little while. But the reason that I want to try to make it up is you need less than 1 meter of 135 centimeter wide fabric, even for their size 20. And what I want to try and do is repurpose the fabric from this. Hopefully you can see that. So this is currently a night dress, and it was sent to me by I suppose a pen pal of sorts. We both knit, and we met on the Ravelry site for knitters and crocheters, which you might have heard of. And she sent me this night dress with this really funky pattern on. We both have cats, and if you look really closely you can see it's got knitting on with cats on, and then it's got these skeins of wool and balls of wool and scissors and stuff. And I don't think that's necessarily a nighttime fabric, and I quite like it as a pattern, but even allowing for the fact I put a little bit of weight on, I am no way going to be able to wear this because it's just too big for me. I think it would just be sliding off me on the neck. So I thought that I could get a LGO Tank out of that, and that would be really nice just to pop on in the summer, you know, with a pair of shorts or crop trousers or something. So yeah, so that's my first choice, the LGO Tank by Itch to Stitch, so that I can make proper use of this fabric. because it's just a straight jersey fabric. So that is my first pattern. So the next one is, and I know the lovely Ruan, the Yorkshire Sew Girl, mentioned this pattern, but I'd seen it about 2 days before Ruan mentioned it at the start of March. And I thought I'm going to include it anyway, because I've got some fabric that will work really well for it. So my second choice is the, let me get this right, I want to say pom-pom, but it isn't, it's the pom-pon waistcoat, and this is by Maison Fauve. And so this is a waistcoat pattern, and you can make it up in a variety of different fabrics. So it suggests maybe denim or velvet or wool suiting. So you really have got a choice. So you could make it lots of times and it would look totally different. Now a while ago, I mean, can't remember exactly how long ago, maybe 2 years ago or so, maybe a little bit more, made a grey Melton wool cape. So I'll put a picture up here. And I did that with some fabric which is kind of sentimental to me because my parents paid for me to buy it. And it's really beautiful. And I have got a ton of it left over. I don't know why I ordered so much, but it's this, it's beautiful. Grey Melton, and I was a bit worried. See, it's got these kind of pleats, and I thought it might not work. And I've got some kind of end bits, so I can always sort of try and have a go and see if they do. But I think they probably will, and I think a waistcoat out of that would look really nice with a shirt underneath, and you know, black trousers or even jeans. So I thought I could have a go at that, but definitely because it's such beautiful fabric, I will most definitely practice pleats on a bit of scrap first, because I'm not going to risk doing it if it's going to look dreadful. And of course, pressing wool isn't the easiest thing in the world. You also need to line it. Now, I have a ton of proper lining fabric because I was given quite a big quantity of fabric that a kind neighbour didn't want anymore. And that's got some lining fabric in it. And I think somewhere I've also got the remnants of the lining fabric that I used when I made the cape. However, the pattern also suggests that you can use cotton poplin or viscose. And I have also got this remnant. Now, depending how the pattern pieces sit, you only need 60 centimetres of it, it says. So depending how the pattern pieces sit, I might be able to use up some of this. So some of you might recognise this if you've been watching me a while. This is the fabric that the lovely Becky from What Beck Sews and I used when we did our collaboration on One Fabric Two Ways. But it's a viscose, and I thought actually that would be right. I'll try and show this without dunking the fabrics in my cup of coffee. There we go. I thought that might be quite a nice colourful lining to go with it, just to jazz it up a bit. So yeah, I think that might be worth a look as well. So in terms of the sizing on this, it goes from a 34, which is a bust 31.5 inches, up to 48 inches, which is the size 52. I've converted those from centimetres because it's a French pattern, it's all done in centimetres. And it reckons you need only a metre of 140 centimetre wide fabric and max 160 centimetres of lining, as I said. You do need a couple of D-rings. So I have got a couple of D-rings that were used to tie back curtains, because I made a jacket out of curtains, which was super frugal, except it was a Burda magazine pattern, so it wouldn't count for this. And they might be too big, I don't know, so I may need to get a couple of D-rings if I go for this option. But I just thought that might be really pretty and a bit different. And as you probably suss by now, I quite like different clothes. So that was pattern number 2. The next pattern is the Great British Sewing Bee drapey knit dress. So there are a lot of the early Great British Sewing Bee patterns that are produced in the books that you can download for free but without any instructions from, I think it's Hearst magazines, and I'll put the link down below. So if you're a fairly experienced sewer, you can just find the patterns and sew them up yourselves, and they're completely free. However, obviously, quite often it's good to have instructions, so they wouldn't be free if you had to buy the book. But if you sign up to Craft World, which is free to do, you can download the Great British Sewing Bee drapey knit dress pattern pieces. And Laura from So Different has got a blog post where she actually puts together some basic instructions for how to sew this dress. And it's quite unusual. It's kind of like a tulip shape on the bottom. So it's a sort of, it's for a jersey fabric. And so it's got a tulip shape on the bottom, and it's got integrated pockets, and it's got this really nice pleat at the top. And it comes in sizes extra small to XL, but I don't have actual measurements equating to that because I haven't printed off the pattern yet. But what Laura says in her vlog is that she used scuba, and she assumed that a medium would be about a size 12, and it was pretty much. She said it was a bit oversized on the top, and then it kind of tapers in towards the knee. So I think if I made it, I might make a large. But those of you who have watched me for a while will recognise this fabric because I keep showing it. And I keep saying I want to sew it up, and I keep struggling to do it. So this is a fabric from Lady McElroy, and it is a scuba. And last year I showed it in my So Frugal 23 vlog, and I said, I really want to make this dress, and I bought Maraflex thread to go with the scuba. And I really, truly, honestly thought I was going to make that dress and I was going to use the scuba. But the problem with it was that when I started printing out the pattern pieces, I think there was a fault with the way they aligned. I'll link the vlog below because you'll also see my ideas from last year then. And it didn't happen, and so this sat in my stash. But I have got 2.13 meters of this, and I can get a Billy dress out of 2 meters. So I would hope that I could probably get that dress out of this fabric. And so I think that would be a good use of it because there wouldn't be too much waste. So that would get that used up nicely. And I do really like the look of the dress. And I think hopefully with the help of the So Different blog, it would be okay to do. I think from what Laura has said in the blog post, if you didn't have instructions, it would be a real nightmare to do, and she had to kind of do it by trial and error. And she said if you're a beginner sewist, it really wouldn't work. So huge thanks to Laura from So Different for doing the summary instructions, because it might actually help me get this made up finally. And I think that would be quite a nice use for this scuba. So that's number 3. So my next choice is a German blouse pattern. So this comes from a website called Initiative Handarbeit.de. So I'll link it down below, and they've got a lot of free patterns. Now, the blouse is called the Blouse Solange, which I think is just a Solange blouse. And I'll pop the line drawings in, but you'll see it reminds me a little bit of the sagebrush top, except that it's got buttons down there instead of being plain down there. And then it's got a high neck with ruffles, and then it's got ruffles on the bottom of the sleeves and going across all the way across here. So it's one big ruffle across from kind of like the bicep area right across. So and then there's also a kind of optional, almost like a peplum that you could put on. Which I don't think I would do, but I might just lengthen the basic pattern a little bit so it came down a bit lower. Now, the thing with this one is that the instructions are in German. However, what you can do is use Google Translate, and sometimes it comes out a little bit strange. So I did I'm knitting a French sewing pattern at the moment, and I've used Google Translate on that because I didn't understand everything, and it's still a bit weird, but generally speaking, if you know something about sewing or knitting in the first place, it'll probably get you there. So I wouldn't be put off, because also if you're an experienced sewer, you'll probably be able to work it out anyway because it has pictures. So the downside of this is it's only got 3 pattern sizes. It's got kind of like a small, medium and a large, and they are 37-inch bust, 39.3-inch bust and a 41-inch bust. And what it recommends is that they're kind of maximum bust sizes, and what it recommends is that you measure your bust and then go for something that's going to be a loose fit on you. So based on that, I suspect I would go for the medium. I don't know, and then maybe grade out to the large by the hip. But you only need, if you don't do the peplum bit on the bottom, you only need 1.3 meters of fabric, and you need 6 buttons as well. Now I have got this fabric, which is a Lady McElroy. Sorry, it's a bit creased, and it's called, what's it called? Elephant Habitat, and it's in this midnight colour viscose lawn. You can see the elephants on it. And I got this at the Festival of Quilts in August last year. I got a remnant piece. So as I say, it's 1.4 meters. So that would actually be a really good size to get this made up. Although it's not something that's been sat in my stash for ages. So yeah, I don't mind if I don't make this with it, but I do think it would be quite a nice, look, and it actually would go quite nicely with the wool that I was thinking of for the waistcoat. So that might be quite a nice combination actually. So we'll see. The alternative to doing that, if I wanted a crisper look, is something that has been sat in my stash for ages, and this is just a cotton poplin which I got from Trago Mills in Merthyr Tydfil a little while ago, and I've kind of got this sitting out half in thought of making something for So Yellow for Endo with it, because it's kind of golden, and that would obviously give a crisper look on the ruffles. So that would be another alternative fabric. This is quite narrow, but I think I've got 3 meters of it, so that might work as well. So I think that one might work nicely. And I think actually, even though, because I'm filming this the night before the vlog's due to go out, I'm not going to get all these made up by 31st of March at all, but all of them are things that I could still imagine doing over the year. And in fact, that happened last year when I did my vlog for So Frugal. I didn't actually make anything up in the March, but I have subsequently made 2 of the patterns. One I've done as at the start of this month, so for an entry for this year's So Frugal, and actually also So Yellow for Endo because it's got mustard in it. And the other one was the Life So Savoury dungarees, which I made up in the summer. So I think it's important to remember that even if we're showing these in March, they'll work all year round. So yeah, so all of these I could see maybe getting done at some point. And I've got one more pattern to talk to you about. And this is from a pattern company called Tiana's Closet, which I'm sure lots of you might have already heard of from other vloggers. I think other vloggers on the tour will have mentioned this company. And I want to mention a pattern called the Mica Basic Bomber Jacket. So this is recommended for a woven fabric, and it's woven fabric, and then it's just got ribbing around the bottom and on the cuffs and big zip up the front. And it is from bust sizes XXS, which is a 31.5-inch bust, up to a 5XL, which is a 47.2-inch bust. So you download the pattern, and then the instructions are actually on a kind of blog post when you click on the pattern. So the instructions come up on the screen, then you download just the pattern pieces. It does have some tutorials that it links to. It talks about, here's a tutorial for putting the side pockets in and stuff. Now for this one, it doesn't actually say how much fabric you need. It says you're going to have to just lay out your pattern pieces on your proposed fabric, or a piece of fabric, and that will help you determine how much you need. So I quite fancy having a go at this, but I don't want to use a woven fabric. What I've got is scuba again, but it's a heavier scuba than the last one I showed you, the Lady McElroy one. And this one I got from Minerva, and I got it when I first started sewing. And if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that I said I tended to overbuy, and I certainly overbought in this case, because what I wanted to make was, ironically, another free pattern. It was the pencil skirt by the Stitch Sisters, and it basically is a YouTube video, and it talks you through how to make a pencil skirt. So here's mine. So you see it's just a straight pencil skirt in this beautiful scuba, which is kind of lacy, and then it's got an elasticated waistband at the top. So it's beautiful. It just doesn't fit me. When I first made it, I could get in it, and it would have been fine if I was going out in a car and was dropped off directly outside the door of wherever I was going to, and I could hobble to a chair and sit down in it and then spend an evening and get up, and as long as I didn't have to go to the bathroom, because it was always tight and it doesn't have a lot of give in it. And I thought initially I'd just sewn it with the stretch going the wrong way, but I think the bottom line is it doesn't have a lot of stretch in it, so it wouldn't really have made any difference. So really, I think I can treat this as a woven, and because it's a bit thicker, I think it will make a really nice jacket. So the plan is to use the fabric out of this to maybe make some parts of it. And then I've got a whole load of fabric left, probably more than I used for the skirt. So I've got all this as well to go at. So hopefully, I don't know yet, because I've printed the pattern out, but I haven't tried to lay out any of the pieces, because I was going to try and measure to see if it would work. But hopefully I've got enough to do it. So I think that would make a really nice bomber jacket. I just think that would be so fun, and it would go with lots and lots of things. And I think what I would do is size up a bit so that I could get things on underneath it. And I also, hopefully, have enough black ribbing to be able to do that. And I think I've got a zip in my stash. I'm not sure if it's quite long enough. I think it probably is. So that's my last pattern. So yeah, 5 very different patterns, 5 very different pieces of fabric, but I think all of them are quite interesting, and they're all things, more importantly, that I would wear and genuinely wouldn't be thinking, oh, I'm only making this for the sake of the challenge, fabulous though the challenge is. So that's it. So please let me know in the comments, which one do you think I should try and make this month? Not that there's a lot of it left. Are you going in for Sew Frugal 24? And if so, what are you making? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. So please do pop a message to me. I always do try and reply to all my comments. So yeah, please let me know what you think. And I will see you again in my next vlog, where I'll probably do a bit of a roundup of March, because I've still got to show you what I got at Sewing for Pleasure and bring you my March makes. But that's all for now. So yes, please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing, and I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for watching.